What would you do if you saw a pregnant woman starving on the street? While you sat in a car with the power to change her life, most leaders would drive past. But not Ibrahim Traoré. What he did next shocked an entire nation, and might just change the way we think about leadership in America, too. The sun was sinking low, turning the sky the color of molten copper. Ibrahim Traoré's convoy rolled down the dusty highway after a long day in the north. He'd spent hours checking on food shipments, talking with village elders, and inspecting security. 2 blocked roads had finally been cleared and grain trucks pushed through. A brand new well had begun pumping water for families who had fled their villages. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't a headline, but it was progress. In the back seat, Traoré flipped through his notes. "Double the grain for Koska and Tau," he instructed his aide. "And send 2 nurses with the next convoy. Hunger and fever together can wipe out an entire village." "Yes, sir," the aide replied quickly. As the convoy entered Ouagadougou, the rhythm of the capital took over. Street vendors shouting, radios buzzing with static and music, motorcycles weaving through traffic like sparks in the night. And that's when Traoré's eyes locked onto something that made him say 2 words no aide ever wants to hear. "Stop here." The driver froze. "Sir, this stretch isn't—" "I said stop." The brakes screeched and the convoy halted. Guards stepped out, forming a protective circle as onlookers gathered. But Traoré ignored the stares and the whispers. His attention was locked on one woman under the shade of a neem tree. She was barefoot, her belly swollen with pregnancy. One hand held it protectively, while the other clutched a small metal bowl of coins. And yet, people streamed past her like she didn't even exist. Traoré stepped down from his car and, instead of towering over her, he lowered himself onto the curb so their eyes met at the same level. The crowd gasped. Someone whispered, "Is that really him?" "My sister," he said softly. "Why are you here? Are you with child?" Her eyes filled with tears. 6 months, she whispered. "I have nothing to eat. I stand here until my legs give out. But people walk past me like I'm invisible." "What is your name?" he asked. "Mariam," she said, her voice breaking. "I don't want pity. I just want this child to live." Traoré looked down at the bowl, then back at her. "Come with me. You will eat first." Mariam shook her head. "No, people will laugh. They'll say I used pity to climb into your car." "You bring no shame," Traoré replied firmly. "You bring truth. And I'm not taking you to a palace. I'm taking you to a table." And with that, a guard helped her into the vehicle. Inside, the aide whispered nervously, "Sir, we could send someone later. This isn't safe." Traoré turned to him and said words that cut like steel. "If it isn't safe for a pregnant woman to stand on the street, then it isn't safe for me to drive past her with my windows closed." Silence. No reply. They drove not to the grand hall, but to a quiet dining room with nothing but a wooden table and an open window. The steward brought rice, vegetables, bread. Traoré waved him away and sat across from Mariam. "Eat," he said. Her hands trembled. "This feels wrong, like I'm inside someone else's dream." "This is your seat," he told her gently. Hunger does not respect titles. And for the first time in weeks, Mariam ate until color returned to her face. When she finished, Traoré asked, "What is your story?" And so she told him about her husband Yakuba, who laughed with joy when she became pregnant. About how he dreamed of teaching his son to ride a bike or buying 2 bicycles for a daughter. About how one morning he left for work and never came back, dying in a road accident that could have been prevented. How the hospital asked for money before they would even scan him. How she begged to borrow cash only to return too late. Her voice cracked. I stood under that tree because I had no choice. I hate begging, but I want this child to live. The room grew heavy. Traore leaned forward. Mariam, none of this is your fault, and you will not beg again. That is my promise. Not for cameras, not for headlines. For you. She looked doubtful. People promise when cameras are on. Then they leave. The only camera today, he said, tapping his chest, is my memory, and it follows me everywhere. Later that night, while Mariam slept in a guest room, Traore stood at his office window and called his chief of staff. Find me a small shop near the market. Ask the florist by the mosque if she will teach for a month, and hire a doctor who will check on a pregnant mother every week without fail. Yes, sir, the chief replied, but people will say this is just for a story. Then let them talk, Traore answered. I'm not doing this for a headline. I'm doing it for a child. By week's end, a small shop was cleaned, painted white, and fitted with shelves. The sign above the door read, Mariam's Garden, Flowers of Hope. The first bouquet sold wasn't bought by a stranger. It was bought by Traore himself, but this wasn't some fairy tale. Trouble came quickly. A thug showed up demanding a safety fee. Electricity was mysteriously cut. A permit suddenly went missing unless Mariam paid a bribe. On social media, opposition bloggers mocked her as a palace pet. She cried in the back room. Maybe I should close. But her mentor, Auntie Rukia, held her hand and said, You worked harder in a week than some men do in a year. Trouble found you on the street. You didn't give up then. Don't give up now. That night, Traore himself showed up in plain clothes. Mariam told him everything. And instead of comforting words, he gave her a plan. Tomorrow we launch a pilot program. If small businesses face illegal fees, we send lawyers. If permits get stuck, we unstick them. If rumors spread, we answer with facts. This is not charity. This is government as it should be. And it worked. Slowly. Painfully. But it worked. Mariam's shop survived the attacks, found its rhythm, and became a beacon of hope. She gave birth to a baby boy, naming him Yakuba Nasir, to honor both her late husband and the help she received. Months later, standing before the nation, Traore launched what he called the Dignity Initiative. It wasn't a handout program. It wasn't a PR stunt. It was simple, radical, and honest. Step 1. Find those in need, not for cameras, but for action. Step 2. Give tools, not pity. Sewing machines, carpentry kits, bicycles, seeds. Step 3. Guarantee health care. Clear fees, complaint desks, free checkups. Step 4. Radical transparency. Every Friday, the budget went public. Of course, critics mocked it. Corruption fought back. Old habits clung to power. But people also noticed something new. When you dialed the number for help, someone actually picked up. Mariam thrived. Her shop expanded. She taught other women to arrange flowers. She planted seeds in more ways than one. And every time she looked at her son, she remembered that moment under the neem tree, the day a leader stopped his car when everyone else walked past. So here's the question I want to leave with you, especially my American viewers watching Traore versus America. If a leader halfway across the world can stop everything to sit with a starving mother and change her life, why is it that in one of the richest countries on earth, we still walk past people sleeping on sidewalks every single day? What do you think? Does America need a dignity initiative of its own? Or do you believe people should fight their own way out of hardship? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's start a debate. And if this story moved you, hit like, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to Traore versus America so you don't miss the next chapter in this global conversation. Because real leadership isn't about titles. It's about stopping when others keep walking.